Okay, initially, as you know, our speaker was to be Dr. Michael Crow of ASU. Things have been a little busy for them lately. It's something about funding, I think. So he is at a Board of Regents press conference at the Capitol today and was kind enough to get Todd Hardy, who is the Associate Vice President for Economic Affairs. So thank you, Todd, for coming on short notice. Todd brought with him Birgit Centea, I believe, who is the Assistant Director for Economic Affairs. So she is here also. To introduce Todd, immediately prior to his arrival at ASU, he was president of G Incorporated, a management consulting firm in South Carolina and Virginia. Involved business planning, real estate development, technologies, and projects. Throughout his career, more than 25 years as corporate counsel of Fortune 500. Fortune 50, okay. I don't keep up on that stuff. And NASDAQ firms and co-founder of a number of startup and early stage enterprises. He has a Bachelor of Science in Industrial Engineering from Purdue University, a JD from Washington College of Law at American University, and a Master's of Science in Real Estate Development from Columbia University in New York. I think he started working about 2 years ago. Anyway, there's a quotation from him that I have, and I'm quoting, "Our primary goal is to build corporate alliances and information systems that create opportunities to maximize the impact of ASU research and resources." So please help me welcome Todd Hardy.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate that warm introduction. First of all, let me extend the apologies from President Crow. As was mentioned, he is, as we speak, on the state capitol grounds, offering to help in wrestling with the financial crisis that we face as a state. We would much rather be here with you today to talk about the ways in which ASU is helping Arizona to grow. But his place is with the state legislature at the moment. So I also extend my sympathies after having expected Dr. Crow for many months. I can only imagine it's almost like saying to yourself, in a few months I'll meet James Bond and Maxwell Smart shows up. But I will do my best to give you a very brief review of what is happening in solar power, both within the state and within ASU, so that you can share with each other and with us the opportunities that we have to grow our economy in the state based on that new and important industry, so that perhaps in the future the economic woes that we face today will be something that we can avoid by expanding the economic development within the state based on that very important industry that we hope to grow here. So today I'll talk about three things. First, I'll give you a brief overview of what we say and think about solar energy at ASU, how we define that, how we work on it. I'll tell you a little bit about what ASU is doing within solar power. And lastly, I'll try to briefly summarize the recommendations of a group that was called the Aero Solar Task Force, which was convened last fall and gave its report to the governor before the end of the year. Recommendations from private industry, from universities, and from government as to how we as a state might take solar power to the next level and advance economically as a result. So those are the three things. I hope to give you some factoids that you can use at cocktail parties in the meantime, but also hopefully engage you in the kinds of things that are very important to our state going forward, and certainly important to our university. So, what is solar energy? Go ahead. And by the way, between Birgit and myself, you have the entire Economic Affairs Department of ASU. So I just want you to know the dedication of the university to this topic. So what do we mean when we say solar energy at ASU? There's a reason why that plane is in the picture, and I'll tell you that in a second. But basically, we consider anything having to do with the translation of energy from the sun to usable resources of all kinds on Earth as being solar energy. It's not just photovoltaics. And it's not just the kinds of rooftop panels that we are talking about. We're talking about everything having to do with using solar energy to our advantage. The brief history of solar advancement, or photovoltaics I should say, started almost 200 years ago when a French physicist discovered the photoelectric effect. Now, it wasn't much understood until Einstein took a look at what light was really all about and discussed it in terms of wave properties and particle properties, so we began to understand what the photoelectric effect really is. And really didn't even start using it until the 60s with the space program, and the 70s when we needed more energy resources and technologies. What Einstein found was that there are particle-like materials within light that can collide with material and hit electrons like billiard balls, forcing those electrons off into creating an electrical circuit. That's as simply as I think I can state, and if there are science teachers in the room that can do even more than that, I welcome the additional information. But that's basically what we understand today and how we use the power of the sun to create electricity. So going from that realization to the realization that within Arizona we have a very unique opportunity. This map shows that within quadrants within the state, we have the ability to produce 4, and some estimates say 10 gigawatts of power for use within our state and for use for exporting to other states. Now, I apologize for the size of the room and some of the detail on the map, but if you can see the circles in the lower left and right corners, those are where the sun shines so dramatically that we might take the most of the power from the sun to make electricity. They also happen to be in areas in which there are state lands and federal lands available too, so that, and I'll talk more about how we look at all those things in combination. I'll stop for a second, and here's a cocktail party fact for you. We talk about megawatts and gigawatts, and a watt is about as much power as being used by that laptop to power this presentation. 1,000 watts, or a kilowatt, are about what a toaster needs to operate. A megawatt, or a million watts, is about what a jet fighter uses to do its business. A billion watts, or a gigawatt, and that's what 4 gigawatts in that left-hand circle represents, are about enough to power a nuclear power plant. And a terawatt, or a trillion watts, are enough to light the world. So those are the magnitudes of wattage that we're talking about. And in that complex, we're talking about 4 to 10 gigawatts, or billion watts, that could be produced in Arizona alone. That would be enough to power 10 nuclear power plants or millions of homes. We can't do it just by doing rooftop installations. There's an estimate that if every home in the country had a rooftop solar installation, it would cover about 1/10 of our energy needs. We have to find other ways. We have to find other generations of technology to take the power of the sun and use it productively. And that's what we'll get into here today. So to go to the next slide, I'll talk briefly about the kinds of technologies that really are considered to be solar technologies and the generations that have come and are coming. The first generation is PV, or photovoltaics. And for the most part, we're talking about central locations within utilities where they have large installations of solar panels that feed electricity into the grid. Or we're talking about commercial installations where companies have large deployments of arrays of solar panels that are used in the industrial applications. Or we're talking about residential. To the extent that PV, photovoltaics, represents the market today, you can see in the chart to the right, the blue section is residential demand, and the largest other piece of the pie is commercial demand. For the most part, we're talking about tried and true technology that's been around for a long time when we say first generation PV, and serving mostly commercial and residential applications. What is the next slide, Birgit? The next technology that is coming on board is